Yes, hello.
Hi, how's it going?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for taking the time to do this interview.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy
Uh,
to be here.
oh, awesome. Well, it's great to be able to talk to you and an interview I've always wanted to do. And I'm so glad to be able to finally make this happen while talking about an amazing new album from you guys that's going to be coming out the 22nd of April 2022 through Nuclear Blast.
Yeah, that's true. Finally.
Yeah, and I've gotten the chance to be able to check out this album over the last couple days, and it just encapsulates everything that I love about the band. I love the fact that you continue to expand the boundaries of what the band can be while still making it so much fun to listen to with so many great hooks, melodies, harmonies, everything that's going along with it, hitting territories that just feel uh, different at the time, but once you listen to it, it completely makes sense. And it's a fun album from start to finish. And I'm so glad you guys made this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the time was a bit challenging, of course, because the situation was totally different than at the previous albums because of the pandemic, there was no chance to do a normal album, you know. So the whole working process was different, the recording process was different. But in the end, I mean, every record is a child of the time when it's created. So I think we made the best of it, and we learned to improvise. And but this was always something we were very good into, and in the end we are pretty proud of that album because it was challenging in every aspect, of course.
Oh, and I'm so glad to hear that too. I mean, when you do have that pride between for the work that you put out, and you can definitely hear that throughout here too. I mean, it feels like everyone that shows up on here, between the whole band and all the great guest spots that show up between the album, that everything just fits and makes sense. Even though it can be improvised, it could just be going outside the box. Whatever the case is, it just fits so perfectly well together.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it works, you know. And we when you start with a song with a riff, it's always like a start of a long way to go before the song is in good shape that you are able to record it, because when it's done and when it's on a record, then you have to live with it for forever. And so I think we are pretty strict with our own ideas, because we work very long on each song before it's ready to bring that song on an album. You know, a lot of songs we don't finish because we don't believe in it anymore. So then we just drop it and try another one. And for this album, I mean, we had a lot of time because it was normally we planned to release this 1 year earlier, but then Nuclear Blast told us, I mean, it makes no sense to release the album now because there is no chance of touring because of the pandemic and the clubs are closed. And then we said, okay, maybe it's okay. We don't enter the studio now. Let the songs, you know, we just put the songs on ice a bit. And then after a few months, actually, after a few months, we just took it again. And then we found some nice new ideas because it felt then more organic without having too much pressure, what is sometimes a bit challenging when you have booked a few weeks in a studio and you are realizing that not all parts are perfectly finished. So this time we were pretty. It was a comfortable situation. There was absolutely no time pressure in finishing it, and so that was quite new to our working style. Yeah.
Oh, I can only imagine. So, thinking about that, was there any particular examples of any major changes to the songs? Like you did mention that some of the things that you did feel that pressure about some of the songs not being exactly what you wanted it to be. Was there any particular moments that did change for the better?
I mean, in the end, we had. It's always quite challenging to finish the lyrics on an album because there is always a big connection between the lyrics and the music. it's kind of equal in value for us, because we're just not only making music, it's also the lyrical aspect is very important for the band. So our singer said, yeah, the songs are pretty much done, but two or three songs are still without any lyrics. And so I prefer to stay some weeks away from the band, away from my home. So he went to France, into the mountains, where some friends of his family living. So, and he was quite isolated, but that's what that working style is pretty much normal for him, because he needs to take him out of the daily routines, you know. So, and on the other side, the previous albums, it was like going like yeah, you know, everybody in the band went together to the studio. You recorded your instruments, and in the evening you had some beers and you were able to discuss about the songs. So this time, because of the pandemic and the very strict rules in Germany, we were forced to that only one guy in the band is allowed into the studio, no other people. You know, it was absolutely absurd situation. So, and that means this time a lot of phone calls, a lot of Zoom meetings, no direct action and conversation with the producer. So everything felt a little bit, you know, there's always something was in between, you know. So this slowed the whole process a bit of finishing it, but on the other side, it gave us more time to reflect sometimes, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, just hearing about that, I mean, the fact that only one person can be in the studio at a time, and there had to be so much conversation that had to happen through the phone, through Zoom, you know, whatever the situation is. I can imagine the struggle that comes along with that. But the fact that you were able to make the most of those situations, that you were able to reflect on things, you were able to work on different ideas when it came to that as well too. I mean, I'm glad to see with so much negative of a situation that can lead into that, you were able to make something very positive out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were stuck in the middle of the production, and there was still some parts of one song. There was one chorus that was not exactly nailed, and during that time I went to vacation with my family in southern France with my camper van. And I thought, okay, maybe it's a good idea to take my laptop and my recording duty stuff and my bass into the car. And then all of a sudden, our guitar player called me and said, "Damn, we changed the chorus line, and your old bass line you already recorded in the studio. We can't use this anymore. So do you have a chance to make it new, to give us a new file?" So, and then I was sitting in southern France on the campground, you know, with my headphones, and I played the lines. Yeah, but it worked, you know. That's what I mean. It's kind of a creative process full of improvisation. I mean, of course, this was not the perfect solution for it, but in the end, the producer said, "Okay, the sound file is okay. I can work with that." And so it's always a funny thing when you come to that song and you listen to the chorus and you know, okay, that's the part from the campground.
Oh, it's amazing how far technology has really taken us too, because unless you mentioned that, I never would have guessed that any part was recorded outside of the studio, because it feels like everything was recorded in the studio. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of things that were recorded outside of the studio. Also, a lot of vocal lines. There was some parts of the songs. Our singer he took some kind of demo recordings in southern France. That there was in the middle of the mountains, you know. I think he just took he was standing nearby a valley or a river, and he just screamed a lot of stuff into his microphone, and we used pretty much of it for kind atmospheric overdubbing here and there. So, and it's something, sometimes it's not something you can really listen, but you can feel it, especially when you use your headphones. albums, because then you have another connection to the music, I think. So you can discover more details. And so the whole album is full of such small things, and so it fits quite well to this whole topic of, you know, wild children, you know, wilde Kinder. This is the translation in English, and so we wanted to tell a story about all this wilderness that's inside of you. When you were born, you are a wild child, and then during the time so many rules come to you in the school, during your education, in your job, you know, you are not free anymore to do what you want to do, but there is still something inside you. The wilderness is a bit hidden in your own personality, and we think it's a good thing that you still have a connection with your own wilderness in yourself, because otherwise the life would be very much, you know, boring, because there is no ups and downs. It's just the same, and you get like, you know, sitting frustrated in your wheelchair or armchair, and think, okay, that's it or not. So yeah, so I think it's a positive energy in the whole record, and it gives you a little bit of mental and physical strength when you listen to it. That's my hope.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I absolutely feel that just musically alone, let alone getting into the lyrics and the whole concept behind everything, because you can just really feel like all the different emotions just going on musically alone. I mean, the fact that you can hit so many different kinds of territories and different styles of music, that is such a great reflection of like one's mind as well, too, because it can hit so many different kinds of emotions. And I can just imagine like the different speeds that are going on in your head, whether things are going faster or slower, whether things feel more anger, more sadness, more happy. You know, it's just like, everything feels like it's culminated so very well within this album. And, you know, just with the way that you're describing it, I mean, it's a great way for human nature to be described.
Yeah, I mean, we often see a record like a live show, you know, because you start with high energetic stuff, then you go a little bit slower tunes and a bit more time to breathe and to relax, and then you get another push by more energy. So we always have a big variety in musical styles. This makes it sometimes a bit difficult to explain it to someone who's used to just to listen pretty much a band that gives you from the first to the last song same kind of emotion. You know, we are of course a bit more diverse in the different musical styles, but in the end it's our way to express ourselves. You know, we come from kind of different musical backgrounds. You know, we have metal guys in the band, and a guy who's came from the punk scene, and we have a guy who was educated at classical musical instruments, and one is absolutely not trained in any education. If it comes to music, he's just doing stuff out of his spontaneous ideas, you know. So I think all the combination of the band and the dynamics during the songwriting create a very unique diversity during a record, you know. So we know we need some calmer songs, some slower songs for relaxing, but we also need that powerful, extreme stuff to get your energy into the people, and you can let the energy out of your body, you know. So this is always a formula that works well for the band since over 20 years now.
Yeah, and that's what I love about the band so much, is everything that you just described. The fact that you can have such a great, diverse, abstract sound, but it all does fit together, and it just fits the band so very well. And you know that it's a conscious effort, you know, like you want to be able to show off all sides of your personality, all sides of what you can do in this band, whether you're doing something that's slower, whether you're doing something that's more black metal or more extreme, or more like a arena or festival hit song. You know, it's just like, it's so many different sides And I love the fact that I can't really describe you guys that well, that you just have your own unique blend of a sound. And that's what I'm always attracted to musically, is a band that can show off their diversity, but also have that authenticity behind it as well too, because all of this feels like it is meant to be here and it's what you wanted to create. And I just find that to be so important.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's I mean, at the end, everybody is there is no formula in the beginning when you start writing a song. It starts with a riff from the guitar or with a vocal line from the singer, and then we start to just to jam together. I mean, we live all in the same city. We rehearse all together in the same room twice a week. So that means the structures in the band are still pretty old school compared to when I listen to bands interviews. They said, yeah, I live in that country or in that city, and we just have we send us MP3 files, and or everything is put together in the computer. That might work for other bands, but we are still pretty much old school guys who need to sit and talk together. So maybe this is also a thing that every song is discussed for a long time, before it's actually or finally on a record, So that's a long time for a song before we decide to make it reality.
Oh, for sure. And, hopefully by the time that the next release does come out after this album cycle, that things are able to get back to the kind of normal where you can be in the studio at the same time and you are able to work out those ideas and really be able to, just have that discussion face to face, because even though you can adapt to those situations like you have on this album, and it's so great to see that, having that old school mentality of like being in the same room together and being able to play together and being in the same studio together to be able to record together, I gotta imagine that's got to be a much greater feeling. And when that can happen the next time around, I imagine that's gonna be a great feeling for you.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has learned in the last 2 years that things can change dramatically within days, and I mean, we had in mind to do our 25th anniversary festival in 2020, and it was postponed again and again, and then we decided just to cancel it because it was so unsure and unclear if it's ever be possible to do that in the way we want to do. And so at the 1st of May this year, we have our first online presentation of the band, which is broadcasted worldwide on our channel, And so we see it, everything that happens in life, You can see the positive and the negative things, but in the end, you have to deal with it some way. I mean, we can't just sit in the room and say everything is terrible and we can't play live shows and it's your fault, and that is not helping you because it makes you depressed. So we thought, okay, instead of just sitting here, we need to find a project that gives us energy and gives us a perspective that we can really do it. So we thought, okay, we don't know how long this pandemic situation will go on. And I mean, I know the situation in Europe is still a bit more difficult than in America. I know that. But for us now, having a full show in our own, we have a pretty big rehearsal room, and we put a stage into it and a big lighting and sound. So, and we have a lot of guys with fire, and it will be a big show, and we are able to bring that to everybody's screen around the world. This is something that's also, nobody would have this in mind like 5 years ago, because everybody was used to go to a club or to a festival. So I think the digital way of distributing your band, it has changed, especially in the last 2 years. So, and we want to use it for the moment because we think we can present the band even only on a desk. It's way better than doing nothing, And then for the summer and autumn, we we have touring plans, and we have to see if it's worked or not. But yeah, so that's pretty much the situation at the moment.
And I really hope that that touring can happen. Of course, being done safely as well too, but just making sure that all the right precautions are in place to make that touring happen. And just like you were talking about, I love the fact that some musicians or just people in general are struggling so hard right now over the last couple of years because of everything that's happened with this pandemic. But even though that emotions can range so much in a situation that we've never been in before like this, that you guys have decided to do what you can to try to make the most of this situation, whether it's making new albums, whether it is doing a show for everyone to be able to check out through their screens, whether it's working on new material if that's happening, just trying to take the negative of everything that's going on in the world right now and trying to make some kind of positive rather than just letting it eat you from the inside and just really making you more depressed and not want to do anything more in life. That you want to be able to go out there and showcase the music that you love to play, whether it's from now or 25 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's quite it's quite comfortable to complain about things. That's easy because you just complain and then you sit there, and the fault is something that's probably only others are. It's fault by others also, but I think in the end, if you do something for your own, mental and physical health, it's always the best solution to overcome a situation, And of course, it's probably the most challenging time for the music business ever, because I can only speak for myself and for our bands we know, the crew members, everybody who was in the rock and roll business, and it seems that the whole structure of this club scene and bands going on tour with a bus, and everything that was, it was unquestioned, it was just the normal reality. And out of a sudden, it was totally impossible to do anything. I mean, even so legendary festivals like a Wacken festival in Germany, which everybody knows, it was canceled 2 times in a row. It's absolutely something nobody had in mind that would happen. But that's the way it is. And now I think the worst time, it's hopefully it's over, and it's now slowly starting again. Yeah. And so it's about good timing to have a new album out, because now we can hopefully return to the street and to these clubs and do what musicians normally do. We transformed a bit from musicians to content creators these days, but hopefully we can have more focus on doing music instead of doing content.
Oh yeah, and with that content as well too. Obviously it's so important to be able to go out there and play shows, playing in front of people, getting that live experience. But even with the content and with what's going on, I love the fact that so much detail is going into that content. Though I mean everything from the stunning album cover that you guys have this time around to the music videos that you guys have done as well too. I mean, I love the fact for the title track that you guys were able to get together and actually play in the same room, and just seeing all the visuals that's going along with that as well too. And rather than just focusing on the content, that you were still able to play as a band together through these times as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was possible, of course, but it was a bit more challenging than in the past, of course. Yeah, but there's always, there's still for us, the level of quality, that we demand from our songs, from the visuals, from the artwork. It's still very high. It's a long time of searching to find something that you think it's good enough to release, especially when you have done a lot of albums in the past and you don't want to repeat yourself and use the same formula again and again. So it's always a process of searching, and that's the kind of creativity that drives the band forward, because if you just would use old formulas, old guys who did the artworks, old photographers, then it would not feel fresh. We need a kind of a new challenge in process, in finding the right mixture for songs, visuals, artwork. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and there's so much that really goes into that album process, especially when you do have a budget to be able to work on artwork, to work on videos. I mean, whether it's lyric videos or doing full-on music videos, stage production, there's so many things that can go into it, and it can be so easy to become complacent and just be stuck with where you are and just feel comfortable being in that same position without wanting to change. But again, what I love so much about this band is the fact that, everything from musically, visually, stage presence, every album cycle, there is something new and refreshing going on within the band and within yourselves too, as well. I mean, just always going outside of that comfort zone and just showing what you're capable of, and just being able to expand who you are musically and as you are as human beings. And just with this album, it's just such a fine example of being able to overcome the adversities of the world right now. And with everything that you talked about, being able to have this album showcase being yourself and just having that concept of just letting that wild side still be able to flow through you in the kind of world that we live in. It's just so important. And the fact that you can show that off both musically, visually, and through yourselves as human beings, it's just incredible to see that, and the positive outlook that you have as well too with everything that's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for nice words. May I can interrupt you a bit, because I have the next interviews going on in 1 minute. So maybe you have
yes.
something.
Yes.
That my time schedule is pretty strict. I have a lot of interviews to do these days. So if you have maybe some very important you want to ask at the end, then I'm open to answer it.
Oh, actually, I was just about to wrap things up there. I mean, I felt like that was such a great natural end to be able to come to. I think we covered a lot of ground in this half hour. I wish we could have went longer. I mean, obviously, there's so much ground that we could cover, but I think we did cover a lot here. And I thank you so very much for taking the time to be able to talk to me about this amazing album coming out the 22nd of April through Nuclear Blast. And I just thank you so much for your time.
Oh yeah, I thank you very much for your time as well. And thanks for supporting the band. And make sure checking out the album on 22nd of April. And for the fans in America, there is a broadcasted live show of the Apokalyptischen Reiter and at May 1st. Just check out at our website, and you can find the details, and much appreciate the support, of course. Thank you very much.
Well, it definitely goes both ways. I thank you very much for taking the time to do this. It was a tremendous honor to be able to talk to you and talk about this great album, and I'll let you continue on with your press day. I thank you once again, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Yeah, thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.